The wealth of the heart. Lara lived a life defined by her own rules. In her sun-drenched apartment overlooking the city, she cultivated a world of books, art, and quiet ambition. She was a woman of striking grace, her deep blue eyes reflecting a soul that sought substance over sparkle. Though the world often tried to box her into the role of a trophy, she stood tall and independent, finding joy in the simple click of her heels on the pavement as she headed to her job at the city's most prestigious cultural foundation. Because of her beauty and poise, Lara was never short of admirers. Wealthy men often sought her hand, treating romance like a business transaction. One evening, a man named Victor cornered her after a gallery opening, presenting a velvet box that held a necklace of blinding diamonds. "A woman of your stature deserves nothing less," he insisted, his voice dripping with the confidence of his bank account. Lara looked at the cold stones, and then at the man who saw her as an acquisition. With a polite but firm smile, she closed the box and handed it back, choosing her freedom over his gold. It was on a rainy Tuesday that she met Silas. She had been rushing into a small, tucked-away library when she tripped, her bag spilling its contents across the wet cobblestones. Silas was there in an instant, not with a grand gesture, but with a steady hand and a warm smile. He wore a simple, slightly worn canvas jacket and spent several minutes carefully drying her books with his own handkerchief. There was a kindness in his eyes that no diamond could ever replicate. Their friendship blossomed in the quiet corners of the city. Silas didn't take her to five-star restaurants or private islands. Instead, they spent their Saturday mornings at the local farmer's market, debating the best type of apples or sitting on a park bench sharing a single bag of roasted chestnuts. Lara found herself laughing more than she ever had. Silas listened when she spoke, his attention focused entirely on her thoughts, rather than her appearance. Lara's friends couldn't understand her choice. They saw Silas as an ordinary man, a gardener, or perhaps a clerk who lived a modest life. One evening, as Lara prepared for a date, she looked at herself in the mirror. She didn't feel like she was settling. She felt like she was finally being seen. Silas didn't need to buy her jewelry because he understood the value of her time and her dreams. He was a sanctuary in a world that always wanted something from her. The pressure from her old world didn't vanish entirely. Another suitor, Julian, pulled up to her office one afternoon in a sleek silver sports car that roared with the sound of excess. "Lara, stop playing at this simple life," he said, leaning against the hood. "Come to the Foundation's Winter Gala with me. I've sponsored the entire event. It's where you belong, not in some dusty park with a nobody." Lara didn't even stop walking. "I'm already going, Julian," she said over her shoulder. "But not with you." Later that evening, Silas met her at their usual spot by the fountain. He looked a bit tired, his hands stained with the soil of the community garden he tended. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a single, perfectly bloomed blue iris. "I grew this for you," he said softly. "It reminded me of the color of your eyes when you talk about things you love." Tears pricked Lara's eyes. It was the most valuable gift she had ever received. The night of the Winter Gala arrived. As the lead organizer for the foundation, Lara was dressed in a gown of midnight blue that flowed like water. The ballroom was filled with the city's elite, all whispering about the anonymous donor who had provided the largest endowment in the foundation's history. The Gilded Patron, they called him. Lara stood near the entrance, her eyes scanning the crowd for Silas, whom she had invited as her guest, hoping he wouldn't feel out of place in such a grand setting. Suddenly, the room went quiet as a man entered. He wasn't wearing his canvas jacket or garden boots. Instead, he wore a tuxedo tailored with such precision it could only be the work of a master. It was Silas. He moved through the crowd with a natural authority that stunned everyone, yet his eyes remained fixed only on Lara. Julian and Victor stood nearby, their mouths agape as the foundation's director rushed forward to shake Silas's hand, thanking him for his incredible generosity. Silas reached to Lara and took her hand, kissing her knuckles gently. "You're the patron?" she whispered, her blue eyes wide with realization. "I prefer the term gardener," Silas replied with a wink. "I only use the rest of it to make sure the things that matter, like your foundation, can grow. But none of that defines me. This does." He pulled her close for a dance. Lara realized then that she hadn't chosen an ordinary man. She had chosen a man who understood that true wealth is the kindness one hides from the world, and the love one shares with a single person.